Good evening, YouTubers. How you going? Hope you're all having a fantastic evening. I am back, and I'm going to be doing yet another movie review. Now, this is another horror film. It's South Korean language, English subtitles. South Korea have been making some really good movies lately, so I had very high expectations for this one, considering the fact that it was one of the most hyped movies to ever come out of South Korea. So it's a creature feature film. So if you like your creature films, this one should interest you. It's from the same director of another film I've reviewed called Mother. So if you've enjoyed that review that I did of Mother a few weeks ago, then hopefully you'll find this one interesting. This is a 2006 release, directed by Jun-ho, and this movie is called The Host. And the story to The Host is as follows. When the US military dumps toxic chemicals into Seoul's Han River, a monstrous mutant creature is conceived in its waters. Years later, the creature reveals itself, and Gang-do witnesses his only daughter taken away right before his eyes. The once ordinary citizen and his family sneak past the military cordon and are thrust into a desperate battle with the mutant creature. Korea's highest ever grossing film. The Host is an international sensation. So what we have, two very irresponsible doctors are at the start of the film, and they're in a laboratory, and the American doctor wants the South Korean doctor to get rid of these chemicals that are no use to them. So he wants the Korean to flush the chemicals down the drain in the sink. So the Korean is reluctant at first because he sees this as, it's going to be a horrible result because this sink leads into the Han River in Seoul. So he doesn't want to do it at first, but the American doctor basically forces him to. So he ends up emptying out these bottles in this sink, and it all, as a result, goes into this river. So years later, years pass, and all of these chemicals that were dumped form a very vicious creature. So the film cuts out, and it's about 3 years later. Gan-do, who is the main character of the film, he is being introduced to the story. Now, I'm not going to go into details about who he is, but he has a young daughter, and his wife had ran off on him because he's a little bit of a loser, but at the same time, he's a very likable guy. So his family are helping raise the daughter along, the way. So Gan-do has got his own father, his brother and sister, and they all look after each other, and they all help Gan-do raise this little girl. So this creature, one sunny afternoon, leaps out of the water and starts attacking the population. And this is where Gan-do's young daughter is taken. Now, at first, Gan-do thinks that the daughter has been killed because he sees the creature going off with her, and they're mourning the loss of his precious little darling. But then later on in the film, I'm not going to tell you how, but Gan-do realizes that his little daughter is in fact alive, and she is still in the clutches of this horrible monster. So the problem for Gan-do is that he can't exactly get to her easily because the area of Seoul, where the phone call came from, has been quarantined by the military. So he's got to get past the military along with his family because they want to help him get her back. And it's a race against time, not only to stay out of the clutches of the military, but to avoid their little daughter being the next victim of this monster. So that's as far as I'm going to go synopsis. Hopefully that's left enough interest for you to go out there and see the film for yourself. And now I will be telling you what I thought of this one. So as I said at the start, a very, very good film, a very hyped up film. Now, a lot of people are saying how brilliant this is. On the front cover it says one of the greatest monster movies ever made. On the back it says unique, a breath of fresh air. A box office monster that's head and shoulders above. You'll laugh, you'll gasp, you'll jump. So much praise being heaped upon this film, and with so much praise comes so much expectation. And I was really, really hoping that the expectation levels would be met, but something deep down told me that, it's a dangerous thing to have an overhyped movie. But I was really, really hoping, fingers crossed, that this one would match the hype, especially seeing that South Koreans have made some really, really good stuff lately. Unfortunately, this falls victim to too much hype. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a very well-made film, and it's better than most creature feature films out there these days. But I just couldn't help to feel a little bit disappointed at the end result. Now, I'll tell you what I liked about it and what I didn't like about it. To start off with, what I liked, the positives. It's more than a creature feature sort of film. It's more than a monster film, more than a disaster film. I'm not going to tell you what the deeper meaning of the film is. That's something I don't want to spoil. But it's more than just a monster film, and the monster seems to be just a side point. And that, it's something so much deeper, which really reminded me of films like The Mist, in that, it's such a deep message and it's such a deep film, and, there's just a shallow sort of surface, but you could look under it and there's a lot of layers to it. And that's what I got with this film, and that's what I really liked about it. It's what I liked about it the most, is the fact that it portrayed a very real message, and it showed you what the world is like these days. And on top of that, it's also a monster film. So young people will get something out of it by just looking at the monster. And for those of you who are older and you want something a little bit more in depth, you'll get it in this film too. So not a lot of monster films do that. As I said, The Mist did that with its subject of faith. But yeah, other films just tend to focus on the monster, and that's the sole point of it. But this one, there is so much more than just a monster film. So yeah, if you want something with a little bit of depth, then definitely check this one out. Now, the characters were very, very likable, very good character development, but at no stage did it get bogged down in getting into the characters too much. I thought they were very likable, very real. They all had their flaws, but they weren't major flaws that you hated them. You really wanted to see this family get their little girl back because they really deserved it. And the main character, Gandu, he's a little bit of a loser, but it's a sympathetic kind of loser because under the circumstances, a lot of people would go under that same sort of they would fall to the pressure that Gandu was under. So you really can sympathise with the main character, which is, a breath of fresh air once again. So all the characters were really well done. There's a lot of emotion to the film, but there's also a very fine blend of humour. Now, this is a dark humour film. I'm not going to say it's a comedy. Some people say it's a comedy, but it's not a ridiculous sort of humour where you don't take it seriously. It just blends the emotional scenes with the humorous scenes very, very well. So you won't get too depressed because then in another scene it will lighten the mood up. But there are scenes that are very touching and very serious. So, Koreans do this sort of thing the best, in my opinion, and it's the case with this one as well. Very fine blend of humour and realistic sort of emotional, touching scenes. So, yeah, I thought he blended that really, really well. Cinematography was absolutely fantastic, as you would expect from a Korean film. Very bright colours, but when the bad stuff happens, it goes to very dark. So it really does match the mood that you see on the screen. So, cinematography is something that you would expect from a good cinematography, something you would expect from a South Korean film, and that's exactly what you'll get with this one. Now, what I didn't like about the movie, I thought it was a little bit too Hollywoody. At the end, it got a little bit predictable, and it just reminded me of a Hollywood film. Now, also the fact that the CGI monster, while it was done a lot better than most films, I still think that seeing less is best, and I think it would have benefited this film if you didn't see the creature as much, because although it was CGI and although it was really well done, you kind of had a feeling that it was fake all along. It just looked fake, and it just took the realism out of it for me, and it didn't feel ridiculous, but it was getting on that point of ridiculous, especially towards the end. So I really didn't like the way the creature looked. Although it was unique and the CGI was decent, I'm not a fan of these films where you see too much of the creature because it just takes you out. Well, for me it does anyway. And, I know a lot of people love monster films. So CGI-wise, it's not bad, but as far as I'm concerned, as far as my tastes go, I didn't like the fact that we saw too much of the creature. So it just took a little bit out of it for me. I do think this is a good film. It's not a masterpiece, and I think it's overhyped. So just be very careful going into it. I mean, it's not the best South Korean film you'll ever see, but certainly not the worst. So just go into this one and don't have high expectations because you could be disappointed. But as far as other creature feature go, I don't think it's as good as The Mist, or I don't think it's as good as Cloverfield. But having said that, it's certainly one worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of Asian cinema. So yeah, that's my review of The Host. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later. Bye.